Hey there everyone, Mazrock here, and today I want to have a discussion about personal loot versus master loot. If you're new to the game, I'm going to go over what personal loot is, what master loot is, and if there's some sort of maybe compromise that we can see forth in the new expansion, because I think it is needed. But before we start, please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. If you're looking for a fun, positive atmosphere to hang out in the community and ask questions about World of Warcraft, hit that Discord link down below. As well, Bloodstorm, my new guild on the Rivendare Frostwolf Vosh servers, as well. There's like 6 or 7 servers there, so look it up. The link is down below for that as well if you're looking for a new guild to join. I'm looking for all ranks, and I'm pretty sure that the first kind of attempted raid night with the community and things like that is going to be this Thursday on March, what is this March? March 17th. I'm going to be attempting it and trying to go there as this video does come out and things like that. So check that out. And as well, I stream on Twitch, link down below. So let's get into personal loot versus master loot. So what are the differences? Personal loot is the system that we currently have now. Everybody loots the boss. Everybody has their chance to get certain loot. And if you get it, it's yours. If it's a higher item level than what you currently have ever had equipped in that slot, it is automatically soulbound. You cannot trade it, and that is personal loot. Master loot is the system that used to be in World of Warcraft before personal loot. So what would happen, you go into a dungeon, someone would loot the boss, and rolls would come up for everything. You'd need it if you'd really need it, you'd greed it if you'd really greed it, and then rolls would happen between those who needed it, and if no one needed it, it would go to the greed rolls, and so forth. And there you go. And the same would kind of, and for raid, what would occur is the raid leader would distribute the loot as per some sort of system, whether it's DKP, whether it's just rolls, whatever it has befit the raid leader or the guild master or whatever to divvy up the loot through master loot. So those are the two differences. Now, before we get any ragers, master loot is flawed. Let's go through those flaws for both systems. Master loot gives a lot of power to one person to just take and do whatever they want with the loot. If they don't like you or they're having a bad day or anything, they could just deny you loot for no reason other than they want to be spiteful and petty. That is absolutely true and has happened. We have all had some sort of horror story with master loot, and you can find plenty of them online. That is definitely one of the big core problems of master loot. Now, one of the big core problems of personal loot is you end up getting a lot of kind of wash gear, let's call it, where everybody in a 20-man raid has the exact same potential to roll on a ring, versus only so many people have the chance to get plate shoulders, right? Because there's only like 3, let's say there's only 3 plate wares in your entire raid. You're really hoping that you can get those plate shoulders just to drop for you, which is terrible. So, for example, in Sanctum of Domination, we had a lot more leather wearers changing gear amongst each other and helping themselves get geared, because personal loot would prioritize how many people are in a certain raid group. It's just how it works. Because if you've got 13 leather wearers, 4 clothies, and 3 plates, the chance of plate gear actually dropping is significantly lower than leather gear, just from the sheer amount of people that you have. So I was very unfortunate being a plate wearer in Sanctum of Domination, where I had to rely purely on luck for all of my gear and not someone else, because I was literally the only plate wearer going into the 9.1 tier. I was the only one in our entire guild group that was plate. Until a little bit later, then we could bounce off with one warrior that showed up. So that's not exactly the most fun way to do things. And on top of that, you have the restrictive system of, if it's a higher item level than what you've ever had equipped in that slot, it becomes immediately soulbound, which So let's say I get a ring that's 3 item levels higher than what I've ever worn, but it is literally the worst possible stats I could ever want for my character. I'm never going to equip this thing. It is literally going to just get sold to a vendor, or it's going to get disenchanted. But there's somebody else in the group that wants it because it's their best stats. It sucks to have to be like, I'm sorry, it's soulbound. There's nothing I can do. I literally cannot give it to you. I want to give it to you. I want to give you this trinket that's terrible for my class, but that's best for yours, and I want to help you get gear and be happy. But I can't because personal loot is crazy restrictive on how that works. So those are both the flaws. The pros for both are personal loot has allowed for a lot more ease of gameplay, right? You can just go, you get your loot, you leave, whatever. You don't have to worry about people needing on stuff they don't need, on greeting on stuff they you know, and things like that. Trying to swipe gear. Enchanters used to do this a lot back in the day where they would need on literally everything. Like, you know, Cloth Warlock would need on plate gear just so they could get disenchantment materials. Like, that sort of degeneracy really does not have a cool place. But personal loot really allows people to not have to worry about their social contracts with the people that they're playing on whether or not they're going to be lucky enough, or, you know, they're going to have been liked enough to get loot or things like that, and really have to rely on, you don't have to rely on the fairness and generosity of people and just things like that. Versus the pros of Master Loot is you get a much more diverse loot pool, and especially within a guild environment, you can really help people gear that need it. Tier sets now being the main argument here. If you look at the Race to World First, we had two whole days almost until the end of the second day where a mythic boss was even pulled by Liquid or Echo, because all they did was these insanely degenerate split runs to try and get tier gear for all of their characters. But you have to just crazily rely on personal loot to do that. But that's the core issue of what goes on with personal loot, especially within raid, is you can't help funnel gear to the people that need it, to the people that you're trying to get it to, and things like that. So we've gone over pros, we've gone over cons. What kind of compromise can be made? Because I like Master Loot. I'm not going to lie, I like it, but I understand it has a very situational use within the game. I think if you're in any sort of pug environment, you're pugging a raid, you're pugging LFR, you're pugging Mythic Plus, anything of that sort, personal loot is the de facto go-to, no ifs, ands, or buts, and keep it there. That's plain and simple. I think that is the better system. Remove or elevate some of the eye level restrictions, so maybe it has to be a significant upgrade, even if it's the worst stats, to be non-tradable. So for example, if you get a ring that's item level 258, I'm just throwing out numbers out there, you get an item level ring that's 272, and the only rings that you got are 261. Maybe because it's 10 item levels more, you can't trade it because it's a high enough of an upgrade where it might be, and you cannot be pressured into trading it. But if it's just, you know, 3 item levels above, literally one upgrade eye level above, maybe make that tradable because it feels terrible. It really, really does. And that is a way that we can fix personal loot. I think a way to fix master loot is you have to have an entire party that is within your guild, maybe 70% guild run, where you can even activate master loot, but it would be like an option for you to choose that everybody has to agree on going in. And if people don't agree on master loot, the raid leader, guild master, whatever, can then be like, okay, sorry, we're doing master loot rules, this is how it works, sorry, you're out, whatever have you not. And you could also apply this to Mythic Plus. If all 5 people doing a Mythic Plus run are in your guild, you're doing a guild run, you can activate master loot. You really can. There's no reason to not. It makes no sense, right? You're with 4 other people that you trust, that you might not like them, I don't know, but you're at least with them. You're running a dungeon and you're spending your time with them. I think activating master loot at that situation would be a good option. Then we come into the problem of mounts and cosmetics. We're just going to call them cosmetic drops from here on out. Where in a raid, a mount drops, a cosmetic drops, a mount drops, and the raid leader's like, yoink, this is mine. Bye, suckers! That's not cool. I think even if you would have Master Loot active, any cosmetic drops would still remain under the personal loot purview. Like, you know, so it's strictly just pieces of gear that you master loot and you divvy up among yourselves that everyone's agreed upon, but everyone still has to loot the boss to try and get the mount, the cosmetic, whatever they're after. That is one thing that should remain. Why not? There's literally no reason to give a raid leader or a GM full rights to mounts. Why not? We all have that horror story or heard a horror story of the raid leader or GM or whatever swiping them out for themselves, giving it to someone that doesn't deserve it, no rolls or anything like that, and that's not fun. It's not fun. It's not right. There's no need for it. Let's just divvy that up. And I think that would be a really good compromise, because that way you could help people get gear to the people that need it. You could really work towards a proper system and feel like you guys are progressing, and it's not people getting gear that don't need the gear and maybe can't even trade the gear that they don't need. That feels like such a waste. To me, like when you're raiding and then you get someone that's like, that gets a new drop and they're like, sweet, and they're like, oh crap, dude, I can't wear this. This is garbage for me. Like, I don't want this. And then they're like, but it's soulbound. I can't trade it. We just down this boss for a couple pieces of gear, and some of them literally have to be destroyed because they can't be traded. That is insane to me. Why? Master Loot could easily fix that problem, and I think a hybrid combination of personal loot and Master Loot would definitely be a good system. You'd have to have the majority of the party base or the entirety of the party base agreeing to Master Loot before going into the raid. A pop-up would occur. Master Loot applies here. Do you wish to remain in this raid? And if you hit no, you literally auto-leave the raid group and you go find another one. Plain and simple, easy as pie. I used to run a guild back in Canada. We had Master Loot, and I would tell every rogue that would pug with us, hey, sorry, our rogue still doesn't have their legendary daggers. If they drop, they go to him. I'm upfront and honest. They go to him. But our rogue is fully geared and literally doesn't need anything else from this raid. He has everything and doesn't need anything else. So any rogue drops that occur will go directly to you because we don't have anyone else to take them, so you can just have them. Is that okay? And most of the rogues would be like, I prefer the legendary daggers, but I also want gear, and that sounds good to be a funnel. Like, to be funneled. Most of them were cool with it. You know what I mean? But it was being upfront and honest about it. That is the goal, and I let everybody... I had seen several mounts drop during my time in that guild, and I had always rolled them off to the guild to let them have their fair chance. I never once assumed that mount was for me because I'm the raid lead, I'm the GM, blah, 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 blah. Never once did I ever do that. And that's the type of person it requires to be a raid leader and a GM, but with Master Loot applied, you have the choice to be like, I want to remain here because I like this raid lead, I like this GM, I think it is a good fit, I think they're a good person, and I don't think they're going to screw us over. But that puts the I'm kind of missing the word here. That puts the ownership on the player to raid with people that they like, which means that for guilds to function and to be good and be less degenerate, and raid leaders not being total dickholes, it's going to promote a better sort of gameplay. That's my take on it. Do you agree? Do you not? Leave it down in the comment section below. Do you have ideas for personal loot, Master Loot? Which was better? Do you hate one or the other? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Enjoy your day. Thank you very much for your time.